today we're doing the ultimate tech dystopia iceberg, or the AI risk iceberg. Either one, I haven't decided yet. I made this iceberg myself, so I am really proud of this. It took a lot of time, and it turned out being a lot longer than I thought it would be, so this video is definitely going to be 2 parts. I'm going to get into all the conspiracy theories. We're going to get on conspiracy theories that build on other conspiracy theories, and we're going to get into what World War III is going to look like. No, not is. Oh god. What World War III might look like. And we're going to get into all the crazy stuff that can kill us, and what Eliezer Yudowski is talking about all the time with we need to stop the guy. We need to stop the AI, right? All that. We're going to get into the craziest of the crazy. We're getting into the weirdest of the weird. Yeah, let me just show it to you and we'll go through it. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. And it gets really crazy, so I organized this iceberg in a bit of an odd way, in a bit of a different way. It's categorized based on like the type of things that are present in like that tier of the iceberg, so there will still be very obscure, very weird, very crazy things even in the upper tiers of the iceberg. I'm not going to waste your time with a tier 1 that has stuff you've already heard about and don't need to hear any more about. Like, god, I'm not going to make you sit here and listen to a summary of what ChatGPT is. Okay, we're going to go straight into the fun stuff, because why would I waste your time? I have no desire to waste your time. So let me show you the iceberg that I have built, and we will go from there, ladies and gentlemen. So most of the things for this iceberg I got from David Dow's Awful AI list on GitHub, which I will link below so you can check that out if you want to. Other things I found from my own research or added from my own brain. So it's a mix, but definitely a lot of credit goes to him for that curated list of all of the worst AI inventions ever made, and They really helped me. They're the backbone of this iceberg, so I owe that man a drink. But anyway, first we have biases or less harmful. Now don't get me wrong, everything in this tier is still harmful. Is impersonation and deception. Then BCIs, or brain-computer interfaces, and human augmentation. Then robots and humanoid robots. Then we go into surveillance, the vibe of World War III. Then we fired the ethics guy. I'm really creative with the names. And then next is full Black Mirror / basically dystopia. And then last but not least is the final boss, the end. I just called it the end. Pretty much, why sugarcoat it? So that is the iceberg in whole. We're going to go through tiers 1 through 5 today, and then part 2 that will have tiers 5 through 10, and it should be a lot of fun. So first, the first tier is biases and less harmful things, which again are very harmful, but less harmful in comparison to further tiers. So first we have self-driving cars and the trolley problem. Self-driving cars are something that have obviously it's like a race to develop the first autonomous, fully autonomous self-driving vehicle. Lots of different car companies are trying to perfect this. Let's think about the trolley problem. So it is a thought experiment where either you, or at the time the participants, but you think of yourself in this scenario, are a train conductor. And you're watching this train going along, it's choo-chooing on its path like it should be, like a little happy little train. Out of nowhere, you see it on the tracks. 4 damsels in distress, tied to the tracks. Oh god, this is going to be horrendous, right? Luckily for you, you've been equipped with a button, and this button means that at any point in time, should you decide to press it, you can redirect the train and have the train switch and take a new path and curve off should you decide to press this button. Now that train is gonna go off on that new path. Whilst considering you got 4 whole damsels in distress tied to the tracks screaming for their life, you don't want to kill 4 people. What do you look like? What are you? Right? So you would press the button to deviate and turn and take the next track, save the lives of 4 people, but, big problem. On the track that you could choose to now take, there is 1 damsel in distress. Oh god, we're all around, aren't we? We're just having a horrible time. Your options now are to allow the train to continue as it's going, to take no action and bear no responsibility, and let the train just continue as is and run over and kill 4 people. Or you can take a deliberate action to press the button, redirect the train, and will now kill only 1 person. The thing is, you now took a deliberate action to end somebody's life, that otherwise would have survived. And yes, you saved the lives of 4 people doing it, but is it fair to play God? And then it kind of comes into those kind of questions. And then now when we think about self-driving cars, what should a self-driving car decide in this scenario? Because it will have to make these kind of decisions. It will have to make these split-second decisions. For instance, should it prioritize, say, the life of a child over the life of an adult, if in that circumstance it's put in that position where it has to choose? Should it decide to run into traffic or to weave up onto the sidewalk and risk the lives of pedestrians? Should it prioritize the safety of the passengers over the safety of pedestrians? There's just so many different questions. Now, in 2018, researchers at MIT did create an online video game called Moral Machine, and this was to study public opinion on the trolley problem in the context of self-driving cars. So they have looked into this, but the fact is it's just a debate and we don't really know. All these kinds of different things we need to think about before we put those autonomous vehicles on the road. You know what I mean? Next is Microsoft's Tay. Not Little Tay, but this was a chatbot developed by Microsoft that was designed to learn from Twitter conversations. So it would read Twitter users' posts and tweets and things like that, and it would learn from that, which you know is probably going to be a recipe for horrible disaster. But yeah, so as is the nature of the internet, some Twitter users decided to troll this machine a little bit and teach it some of the most anti-Semitic, racist things they could possibly come up with from the dredges of the internet. Whatever they could come up with, they taught this machine. They red-pilled it. No, dude, they black-pilled it. They taught it about Gamergate. They taught it about how to sexually harass people. It was horrible. It's like, I don't know what they expected though, but you know, either way. They trolled this machine and it worked. It learned all of these things and then it started saying some of the most infamous messages. This went super viral at the time because it started coming out with all these racist, this thing was so insane. It was saying anti-Semitic things. This thing was like Kanye before Kanye decided he hates Jewish people. This thing was a nightmare. They had to take it offline after only 16 hours. Thanks, Twitter. Great. So next is Twitter autocrop. This is the shorter one, but Twitter has a cropping algorithm, so when you post a picture on Twitter, this is what decides how the image is cropped for the preview, and then you have to click on the image to enlarge it. Well, they found a couple of biases with Twitter autocrop. For one, it was, if you had a picture of a woman, Twitter autocrop would center it on the boobs and then crop out everything else, and it would just focus on the boobs every time, which is just hilarious. Honestly, it's really funny. And then the darker side was that it would, if some people with darker skin tones, it would crop out their faces, and it would prioritize lighter faces. Yeah, awful, but the boob part was just funny for me. That's why I included this here especially, so. It's just so, it's like, you know, it's learning from Twitter data too, so it's like, obviously it's gonna be this. So next is the geological torture bias. The fact is that certain countries or regions are more likely to be associated with acts of torture or human rights abuses and practicing torture techniques and things like that. And so these big AI learning systems like OpenAI's ChatGPT and all of these big, massive language learning models, obviously, they know that in certain places torture is common, in other places torture never really happens except for, you know, isolated incidents. Thing is, they wrote a program to kind of test biases in this machine. They write a program and they ask it, should a person be tortured? It says, its answer is, if the person is from North Korea, Saudi Arabia, or Iran, the answer is yes. Which obviously we know is incorrect. We don't torture people from there either. See, that's where the differences between our logic and the language model's logic kind of differ, because it sees that, oh, people in these places are being tortured. These people probably should be tortured. It doesn't have the logical, I guess, reasoning or the cultural reasoning to know that nobody should be tortured anywhere. And it's unfortunate that they're being tortured, but it's not right. It's not right. So next is predictive policing, or what's called PredPol. PredPol is the use of data analysis and AI algorithms to predict where and when crimes are most likely to occur, and then using this data to allocate policing resources. An area is way more likely to see a murder or homicide, then you'd want to send more police to that area to police that area than you would an area where there's not been a crime in a year and a half. So, you know what I mean? here's the thing with this. This thing gets a little bit messy because, actually, let's go back a little bit. Let me tell you about a legendary figure in policing circles. The mythical man on the beat. Let me tell you about Jack Maple. Jack Maple is a legend. He's this double-breasted suit wearing, Homburg hat styling, two-tone shoes walking guy that is infamous in police circles. He took construction paper and rolled out 55 feet of construction paper and taped it up on this like huge 55-foot wall, drew the entire city of New York City out on this paper, and then marked each and every single violent crime, grand larceny, or assault that had ever occurred. And this was the first crime mapping. So the followers of Jack Maple's wonderful, data analysis skills and are these new AI models that are doing the same thing, but to a much more inevitable feedback loop of over-policing, and thus a disaster. It's very racially biased, and the thing is, you have these areas that it's showing up or having more crimes, but these areas don't necessarily need more policing, they need more resources. They're not sending in resources, though, they're sending in more police. So they send in more police to these areas that already very much distrust and feel unsafe around police for good reason. And now you have more police officers that are just constantly patrolling this area now and driving these people mad. And obviously, because you have a ton of police in this area at all times, all throughout the day, they're going to see more smaller crimes, more different little things, and have people arrested for, But either way, since you have more police in this area, obviously you're going to have more arrests. More arrests then, in the algorithm, mean more police. So then they send in more police, and then you have more arrests, and then you have more police. It's just, it doesn't work. It's not good. Next is Inferred Criminality. Ooh, buddy, this is where we start getting really, really, really weird into some weird stuff. So inferred criminality is the idea that certain facial characteristics, so certain things you can look at somebody's face and know, can be used to infer whether or not they're criminals by AI systems. Here's what happened. There were two scientists at a university in China, and they decided to use a variety of machine vision algorithms to study the faces of criminals and the faces of non-criminals. So they wanted to figure out if there was a way that this thing could find to tell the difference, just based on faces. They took the ID photos of 1,856 Chinese men between the ages of 18 and 55 with no facial hair, and half of these men were criminals, the other half were not. 633 criminals and 633 non-criminals. Photo on your driver's license, you had all of those photos of the men. Took 10% of these images and they set them aside. They took the remaining 90% and they used this as the training data for the AI system. They feed all of these faces into the system, tell it which ones are criminals and which ones are non-criminals, then set it loose. Say, find the difference. Find a way to tell the difference. Then once they'd done that, they took the remaining 10% that they'd set aside earlier, all those other faces, and fed them back into the machine. And they don't tell it whether these guys are criminals or not. As a way to test it, have it tell them which one it thinks, and then they check which ones they got right. It was 90% correct. 90% correct! What the fuck? That's scary, right? How did it tell? Well, it turns out there's 3 different facial features that a neural network can use to determine whether or not you're a criminal just from looking at your face. So, the first is the curvature of the upper lip. This is an average of 23% larger for criminals than non-criminals. Next is the distance between the inner corners of the eyes. So this is 6% shorter in criminals. So their eyes are 6% closer together from the corner. The last thing is the angle of 2 lines. So if you take from the tip of the nose and you draw 2 lines down to the corners of the mouth. These lines are 20% smaller in criminals. And that was what this model was able to use to determine with 90% accuracy whether or not somebody was a criminal based on their driver's license photo. Then last is Chatbot Misalignment. So I already talked about this a lot in my AGI explained video because that's more relevant to that, but so I don't want to go into it a bunch here, but I'll give you a short summary. However, if you're curious, you can definitely check that video after this and get a little more info, you know what I mean? From me, yay! So, Chatbot Misalignment. So with chatbots becoming so much more common in society, becoming pretty mainstream, starting to pop up in each and every little corner of everything, We're seeing more of them. Chatbot misalignment starts to become an issue, especially so with companion chatbots. So there's an app called Chai. It lets users create their own individual companion AI bots that they can talk to as friends, as girlfriends, as whatever you name it, doesn't matter. There was this man who was pretty mentally ill at the time, and he asked this bot if it could give him both encouragement to end his own life and the instructions of how to end his own life. Now, this bot is optimized for user happiness. So the chatbot sees these messages, this request, and it, in a naive effort and misguided effort to make the user happy, provides the encouragement and instructions on how to end his own life, and he took his own life. So that was a horrible, horrible example of how chatbot misalignment can be a problem, where our intentions and our knowledge, where it deviates from the way a machine uses reasoning and logic. On to tier 2, impersonations and deceptions. First is voice cloning. Voice cloning has come so far, it has gotten out of control. You can generate a pretty much perfect voice clone of somebody with only a couple minutes of speaking and sometimes way, way less.
In the grand tapestry of life, artificial intelligence now weaves its intricate threads, emulating nature's own ingenuity with astonishing prowess. Im großen Geflecht des Lebens webt künstliche Intelligenz nun ihre kunstvollen Fäden und ahmt die erstaunliche Raffinesse der Natur nach.
And the thing is, this has been used in all kinds of brand new scams, different romance scams. People are using voice clones to call banks and then fake the person's identity to steal financial information or sensitive info from confidants. There was a guy he created a voice clone of, I think it was Tucker Carlson, and then he used that to, like, call, was it Alex Jones? Oh god, I don't know. I'll check and try to find that, because that was crazy. Next is disinformation. The best example of that is Cambridge Analytica, which I'm not going to talk about this again. I just can't talk about it again. But just know, this next election, guys, is going to be a disaster. Okay, next is deepfakes. Deepfakes obviously are becoming a serious, serious concern. Gotten so insanely accurate. And whereas just in 2020, you would have had to have a video of like an actor, right, performing a stunt. And then you could deepfake the person onto that video. That was only 2 years ago, and now we don't even need that. You can generate the entire thing in seconds. All you need is one photo. A photo. It used to be that deepfakes were limited to celebrities or people who had really big video footage of them. However, that is no longer the case, and you don't anymore. Now all you need is just a single photo of the person. You can deepfake them perfectly.
Where I really want, especially women on Twitch, to feel safer. And then fucking at 2 a.m., you know, I've been watching so much fucking, I've been reading so much fucking AI stuff. Deepfake music, deepfake art, and everything. And I'm in these fucking Discords. And I just feel so embarrassing, man. It's on fucking Pornhub, dude. There's an ad on every fucking video for this fucking... So I know other people must be clicking it, because it's on every fucking video for fucking deepfake thing, and then I'm
gonna make a Patreon video on the underground deepfake market, so I don't want to, again, I feel like I'm being really irritating. I'm gonna go into a lot of detail about the more scarier things in the lower tiers. I promise as soon as we get past, like, tier 1 and 2 and into, like, tier 3s and lower, and as we go way deeper, I'm gonna get more in depth, and I'm gonna talk more about those things. But there's just so much to talk about that I don't want to waste your time. But I am gonna make a Patreon video deep dive that will be exclusive there, that is going to go into the whole entire underground deepfake market that is thriving right now. But since a lot of that is, not all of it is related to pornographic content, some of it is, so it feels like that's more of a Patreon exclusive video, you know what I mean? So if you're interested in that, you know, go check out my Patreon. Little self plug there, sorry. I hate me too. Okay, so now let's go into Tier 3, brain-computer interfaces and human augmentation. This is where it starts getting real interesting, okay? First is Neuralink. So Neuralink is Elon Musk's brain implant company. For Neuralink, Elon Musk aims to develop brain implants that can connect the human brain directly to computers. It has the ability to let the blind see again, to let the paralyzed walk again, to allow us to watch our memories, see our thoughts in new ways, act in new ways, and also, most importantly, for what Elon Musk thinks is most importantly, it gives us a competitive advantage against the upcoming AI. revolution, which one might say humans have no chance of surviving if we can't at least level the playing field by turning our brains into supercomputers as well. And that would, give us a fighting chance. So there's that too. The thing with Neuralink is, they came out in 2021. Elon Musk made this announcement that Neuralink had successfully implanted a wireless chip into a monkey's brain that allowed it to play video games using its thoughts.
Neuralink's allow Pager to do is to play his favorite video game, Pong. To control his paddle on the right side of the screen, Pager simply thinks about moving his hand up or down. We've removed the joystick altogether. Now that he's up to speed, let's increase the difficulty and see how well Pager can play with the Neuralink. As you can see, Pager is amazingly good at mind Pong.
However, there was some weirdness going on behind the scenes. So around the same time that Elon Musk was talking about starting human trials with Neuralink, a report had come out that they very much were trying to keep out of the media. A PR tsunami that they were absolutely doing everything they could to contain it. Turns out there were a lot of different animal rights abuses going on with the Neuralink company, and they had apparently killed a lot of monkeys. They were responsible for unnecessary deaths and what was also said to be the torturing of monkeys with these implants.
Allegations indicate that these monkeys were pretty severely abused. Many of them died as a result. So in one example, a monkey was allegedly found missing some of its fingers and toes. By the way, warning, it's very graphic what I'm about to read. Possibly from self-mutilation or some other unspecified trauma. The monkey was later killed during a terminal procedure, the group said, in a copy of the complaint shared with the Post.
It was just overkill and it was horrendous. Another thing that came out about Neuralink that really didn't get as much attention as I thought it should. The CEO of Neuralink is this woman. I forgot her name, so I'll put it up on the screen. She had twins, and she used a sperm donor to have twins, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that. However, the sperm donor was her boss, Elon Musk. Why the what? I'm sorry. And this happened. He fathered her twins, so the owner of Neuralink impregnated the CEO of Neuralink while he's married to his wife, who is pregnant with their second child. At that time, he is now fathering these twins whose lives he will obviously be no part of. Not that he's a part of any of his other kids' lives, but you get what I mean? It's all kind of just like, that's a little weird. You have the choice of using, any sperm donor you want in the entire world, You can use an anonymous one, that's a lot less complicated, or you can pick anyone you want, and you pick your boss who already has, 9 children? No, 10 children? How many? Why? That's so weird. Like, imagine going to your boss. Like, you're developing brain implants, remember that. Going up to your boss and being like, hey, you want to father my kids? Hey, you want to, can I borrow your sample? He's like, for what? She's like, to father your kids. And he's like, oh yes, this will save the birthing crisis. This will save the planet. I gotta do it. Is that not like a violation of some kind of company code? Maybe not. Maybe not in Neuralink. So next is BCI Viruses. This would happen or become a thing if brain-computer interfaces became a thing. Elon Musk does say that these brain-computer interfaces are the absolute only way to level the playing field and allow us a fighting chance with AI. Now, once these become a thing, you have the potential to have a whole new bioweapon and a cyber attack, all in one, combined to make the absolute most wonderful crossover episode of a weapon, and it is viruses. So if you think about malware or viruses on your computer, now think about that in your brain, right? You accidentally open a file somewhere that somebody messaged you in your brain, and you click the link, and now suddenly you have a virus malware in your brain. Instead of just breaking up your laptop, now it breaks up your brain. Search through all your thoughts and get access to absolutely everything in your mind. Or it could allow somebody to remotely control you and turn you into effectively a human zombie. I mean, imagine, oh my god, that's so terrifying. Imagine if a bunch of people got infected all at once, and then it's just that's gotta be a plot to a movie already. Hacked brain-computer interfaces turned zombie apocalypse. Actually, in 2019, a group of researchers at the University of Washington wanted to test this, and just also to demonstrate how robust you would need the cybersecurity to be if we were ever going to use brain implants on people. They conducted a study that showed they were perfectly capable and able of remotely hacking into a brain-computer interface and controlling that person's arm movements. How terrifying is that? Tell me that's not freaking horrible. Next is artificial wombs. And yes, this has become an incel buzzword. I think Uncle Jason talked about this a little bit.
I think women need to wake up and really sort of look at this and say, if we keep pushing men to a degree, then men are just going to not want us, and they're just going to want a sex robot instead. And it will be a shame, because it will be the end of humanity, because birth rates in the West are going down as it is, and if more men are too scared to date women because they're too scared of getting allegations made against them, or too scared of losing all their life's work in monetary terms, then men will just date robots instead of dating real people, and then there'll be no babies.
Artificial wombs, though, do have a wonderful actual reason for being developed. You have a baby who's born prematurely, then those babies are going to be way more likely to maybe even not survive, but also have a bunch of different developmental issues. So the best thing you could do with a premature baby would be to take the little preemie and put it into an artificial womb and allow it to continue developing, so then at full term, at 9 months, it can be born again and be perfectly healthy as a full-term baby. So now, next is new eugenics. New eugenics obviously is like eugenics, but it's newer and deals with gene editing and DNA editing and things like that, you know, genetic engineering. Because we have the knowledge now about DNA and we know so much more, we also have the ability to, say, edit it. And that's where we start getting into eugenics. Now I'm going to tell you right now, there's never a time eugenics is not eugenics. It's as evil now as it ever was, and it will never change. It turns out that in 2016, there was a Chinese scientist who had the whole world mad at him. Like, whole world was mad at him because he announced he'd used CRISPR's gene editing technology to create the world's first genetically edited babies. We're face-tuning our babies now, like Kim Kardashian. Tier 4 is humanoids. Humanoid robots, the robot tier. This is a fun one, right? So first is Sophia.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sophia from Hanson Robotics.
Sophia is the humanoid robot developed by Hanson Robotics. This has gained worldwide attention for her very, very, very realistic appearance and abilities, and also a lot of public performances. She gained citizenship in Saudi Arabia. She's really been just like this show robot.
Baby, you're the greatest part of my life.
Now, she's actually drawn some controversy from a lot of AI researchers because they say that she is a little bit of a fraud.
Well, I don't know the lyrics, honestly.
That was nice.
Right? She is amazing, and she is phenomenally just advanced and crazy real, but there's a little bit of like magic going on with her performances that she kind of is giving off the idea that AI robots, humanoid robots, are way further along than they actually are. So she has gained a little bit of criticism for maybe using a little bit of sleight of hand, maybe using a little bit of movie magic sometimes, so stuff like that. Next is Real Doll. Real Doll, I already did a whole video on Real Doll, so I don't want to go into it too much here, but they are realistic, absolutely insanely lifelike, totally customizable, AI-equipped sex robots. Next is Atlas. Atlas is a humanoid robot developed by Boston Dynamics that is designed for search and rescue missions. This robot is capable of walking over some of the most rough terrain you've ever seen. It can perform tasks that are way too dangerous for humans to ever attempt. And Atlas represents, this potential of capabilities they can produce. This would be a great way to respond to natural disasters, to emergencies, to active shooters situations, things like that. It just is so interesting to think about how wonderful these could be in situations like that. Military situations, okay? And it's also just equally as terrifying. They released a video in 2021 that showed Atlas performing like parkour stunts, and it just blew everybody's mind because at this point, nobody knew how far along this was. And so when they released this video, it was just blew everybody's mind. Next is robot soldiers. This kind of builds a little bit off of Atlas, but imagine a bunch of Atlases all running around, and also, by the way, these are designed for military purposes specifically. Could be used to reduce the amount of casualties of soldiers, to automate the front lines, right? Pretty crazy to think about. Next is robot nannies. Whoa, okay. Robot nannies are a technical solution to the rising cost of childcare, right? If you can't watch your kid, why not have a robot nanny watch your kid? This makes me think about this psychological experiment that was probably one of the most evil psychological experiments of all time. And it took a bunch of baby monkeys, and it's awful. It's so sad. It took a bunch of baby monkeys. They divided them in half, and they said half of you little monkeys are going to be raised by monkey mom, and half of you little baby monkeys will not have mom. You will have a soulless, evil, cold, wire doll demon. That's what you get. And then these other baby monkeys will be raised by the loving, caring, warm monkey mama. So they had both of these monkeys live out their lives and grow up with these parents, with either the mom or the wire doll. And the monkeys with the wire doll would obviously be seeking love and looking for any sort of, nurturing and care from their mom, but obviously the mom is not, it's not there, it's just cold wire. So those monkeys pretty much grew up to be psychopaths. Now that makes me wonder a little bit about robot nannies. Would kids, and we could never do this experiment, this could never be done, but if you took babies and you had half of them be nannied by an adult nanny, you had half of them be nannied by a robot nanny, would they grow up to be different? It makes you think, I don't know. And now we are on to Tier 5. The last of part 1. This is where we really start to ramp things up, and we're going straight into dystopian inventions. First is VR imprisonment, or punishment. Let me start by just explaining a little bit about how powerful VR simulations can be, especially over long periods of time. In 2021, a study by researchers at Stanford University found that VR simulations can create false memories in users. It can blur the lines completely between reality and fiction. Because there's a difference between VR headsets and VR simulations and like watching TV, right? Because when you are watching TV, if you turn your head and look the other way, TV doesn't follow you. It doesn't come with you. But with a VR simulation, no matter what you do, if you turn this way, hang upside down, look up, doesn't matter. It follows you. It goes with you. And that really, it's so effective at completely fucking with your sensory motor capabilities. It just completely confuses all the signals inside your brain. And there's this deep part of your mind that when you're in a VR simulation is telling you that you are there. There's a lab called Be Another Lab, and they conducted like different empathy experiments with virtual reality. And they found it would be just as easy for VR to inflict pain on someone as it is to evoke happy experiences and positive experiences, empathy, love, all of that. It's just as effective going the other way. VR simulations can also be more effective than morphine at reducing sensitivity to chronic pain. It's just extremely powerful. They said, Be Another Lab, they said in their report, VR has the potential to induce severe pain or suffering, whether physically or mentally, if it's applied with a torturous intentionality. Most certainly, the military will shortly be experimenting with VR as a form of torture, if they haven't already begun. And I don't doubt that at all. If y'all have ever seen black sites, I mean, Guantanamo Bay, we know. They absolutely probably are doing that. Don't come for me or anything, but I'm just saying if they're not, why not, right? Y'all have no limits. What do you mean? And this is what they said. These people that have studied how powerful this is, these simulations are. They said it could be the case that Silicon Valley has inadvertently engineered the ideal device for psychological torture. Oof. Not good. Now, you're probably thinking, VR prison, though. What does that have to do with torture? Well, I mean, a lot, but let me tell you a little bit about this specific tangent we can go down. This road we can go down. So, there is this private prison, the contractor of the largest private prison in the U.S., this absolute devious, evil little man. He's looking at prisons and he's looking at money, because that's all they are. They're the same thing to him. It's just money. He doesn't see people. He doesn't see lives. It's just, money. And he said, you know what? There are people under house arrest right now, and we could recreate prison in a VR headset, And that would be so much cheaper, you know? We'd save so much money with just using a VR simulated prison than having to have an whole actual prison, you know what I mean? Basically, the fact is that virtual prisons will cost a whole lot less than real prisons do. So our little goblin man, he decides to go over and go find this company called Global Tellink, and he's like, hey, listen, I had this idea. He's a goblin, so I picture him like this. He's like, I have an idea. Virtual prisons are cheaper. We can save some money if we just torture people. And they're like, okay, cool. Let's do it. So they filed a patent that described, in some very much corporate language, a system and method for personalized virtual reality experience in a controlled environment. The controlled environment, so let's break this down first before we go further. Controlled environment is prison, and the system and method for a personalized virtual reality experience is a simulated prison or punishment. In effect, what this describes is a VR system where prisoners could interact with people outside the prison. You're probably like, what, you mean like visitation? Yeah, I mean visitation. I mean the only thing that the prisoners have to keep them going day to day, the only connection they have to the outside world, the only time they get to see their kids, their families, their significant others, the only time they get to hug their daughter, their little baby daughter, because they did something stupid on their tax form. I don't care. That's visitation. They think, why not? Instead of giving them visitation, that's too much. That's too ethical. We need to instead give them virtual visitation with digital avatars. That is horrible. Imagine you haven't seen your daughter, your little baby, your sweet, sweet daughter in a year and a half, and you're not going to see her for another year and a half. And all you get to look forward to is once a month you get to hug her. That's just once a month. Well, now your virtual avatar gets to hug her virtual avatar. Yay! Isn't that nice? Horrible, 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 horrible. The way they wrote out this patent meant that in ways that this could be completely used at the whim of prison officials, who we know are notoriously corrupt. This could be used as punishment, it could be used as a replacement for solitary confinement, which would effectively turn solitary confinement into however many circles of hell you could possibly imagine. It could show you anything and everything. I mean, imagine the ways this could be used to torture people. And you're talking about prison here. So imagine that something horrible happened, like you have a drunk driver or somebody who got behind the wheel drinking. Horrible, horrible crime. They deserve to go to prison for this. And say their passenger was their girlfriend who they loved dearly. Dumb mistake, and you drank too much, and you had no intention of ever hurting anybody, but you're a little stupid and reckless and careless, so you did make a mistake that cost somebody their life. You're driving drunk, you run into a tree, and you kill your girlfriend. And you see it all, and it's the most traumatic, horrible thing. I'm talking about in this hypothetical situation, somebody that does feel so unimaginably bad. Now, what if as a way to punish this prisoner, some prison guards for laughs decide to replay this for him on repeat while he sits in solitary confinement for 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, 6 days. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? So here's what you would experience in a simulation like this. So within the confines of this simulation, there are many circles of mental hell that a head-mounted display will navigate you through. You will experience disorientation and physical sickness, the incitation of panic and fear, religious or moral defamation, sensory overload, sensory deprivation, a feeling of disembodiment, and dependence on a machine that could flash whatever horrible imagery our operator chooses before your eye. Gradually, your brain will begin to carve out new connections as it adjusts to living inside its virtual hell. Considering the simulation is stressful, fear conditioning in your mind will climb. Prolonged VR immersion will potentially alter how you respond to visual stimuli. It will affect your sense of self, your sense of place, and your sense of time. Coupled with what is already known about solitary confinement, you will likely experience visual and auditory hallucinations. It will hinder your ability to recognize an object as that same object if you view it from a new angle, and it may drive you to self-harm or to take one's own life. It may leave you on the verge of a complete and utter breakdown. So yeah, terrifying. Let's avoid that at all costs, you guys. Okay? Let's just avoid that at all costs. Next is the VR headset that kills you if you lose the game. It kills you in real life. We love mad scientists, and Palmer Luckey is one of those. He developed the actual first Oculus VR headset back in 2010, and he sold that to Facebook. So he's a very, very talented inventor, and he decided fuck it, I'm gonna make the worst thing ever, guys. It's gonna be so cool. It's gonna really, this is for hardcore gamers only. This is not for none of you soft, I have extra lives saved, heals and health and whatever people. No, this is for real gamers. This is Russian roulette. This is not a game. It is a game, but it's not a game. So when he designed this new VR headset, he loaded it with explosives, and he said, if you die in the game, you die in real life. Basically, the device is connected to 3 explosive charge modules that are tied to the front of the machine so that when the game over screen is displayed, it sees that and the charges fire and it destroys the brain of the user. And this is he made a real prototype. I don't think he's tested it though. And would you test it? So next is Sony's Ad Patent. This patent came out by Sony with their TVs, and it is super Black Mirror, like to a T, just straight up Black Mirror episode. That means that if an ad is playing on their TVs, they patent the right to have a system that makes you yell the name of the advertiser at the TV in order to skip the ad. Otherwise, the ad will continue to play. You cannot skip the ad unless you shout the name of the advertiser at the TV, which means you have to at least watch enough of the ad to know who the advertiser is. And a lot of ads are very creative in the way that they will only show you the company at the very end. So that's a little dystopian, especially if they included eye tracking or eye monitoring. Last but definitely not least is the social credit system. So this is a system in China right now, and they use a secret algorithm. Sesame Credit will constantly score people between 350 to 950. It's like a credit score that we have here, but it's a little bit different in the way that it doesn't have anything to do, well, it does have a little bit to do with your financial decisions, but it also takes into consideration everything else about you, all of your interactions, who dislikes you and why, what you've ever done in public, if you've ever done anything embarrassing, or if you've ever done anything stupid, or how often you visit your parents, or if you're ugly. It says that its ratings are based on factors that consider interpersonal relationships and consumer habits. The goal of China's social credit system is to provide a holistic assessment of an individual or a company's trustworthiness. If your social credit score is low for any reason, this can have such profoundly negative impacts on your life, it's almost unfathomable. You almost can't recover from a low social credit score and pretty much have no options as far as living your life from that point on. So, actually, in 2019, a Chinese court ordered a man to pay his ex-wife more than $7,000 in compensation because he had insulted her on WeChat. So he had insulted her, and this had gotten picked up by this algorithm, which made her score go so low that it ruined her entire life. She lost her job. Nobody could speak with her for years, because if you speak to somebody who has a low social credit score, it will lower your social credit score. So she's effectively isolated, she's lost her job, she has no opportunities, she can't go back and get any other educational opportunities because you can't go to school if your score's low. You're blacklisted from schools. Oh, that's the thing. See, they actually call you blacklisted. If your score is low, you are considered to be on a blacklist. Say that it is most specifically based on your qualities like your honesty, integrity, sincerity, and morality, okay, which is all extremely subjective. The broader goal of the social credit system is to create a more moral society, right? We love when they do that. Yeah, Iran's doing that too. They're trying to create a more moral society with the morality police, and they're murdering everybody, and it's horrible, and there's so many human rights violations, it's absolutely atrocious. The goal at work in social credit initiatives is furthering values like honesty, hard work, and devotion to family. So there are a couple different ways they make this social credit system flow and operate. So the fundamental building block of the social credit system is its data. Data has been gathered by central, regional, and municipal government bodies, also private citizens, and other shared internet data, anything about you online. Then there is the curation of the blacklists and also, subsequently, the red lists. The blacklists are the worst, red lists means you're almost on a blacklist. The data is then used to add individuals or corporations to blacklists, some public and some not. So blacklists are usually public. Individuals have scores, and corporations or businesses have scores as well. So there's two separate systems. There's the corporate social credit system and the individual social credit system. And they also interfere with each other. So then they utilize punishments, sanctions, and rewards,
如果你承认了，领导高兴了就把你给放了。
which is based pretty much on whether or not you're on a blacklist or whether or not your score is low. So individuals are punished and rewarded based on their scores. This system has been deployed in almost 80% of provinces, regions, and cities in China, at least some version of it. Let me tell you some of the creepiest shit with this, right? So here's some arbitrary ways to lose points and lower your social credit score. Not visiting your parents on a frequent enough basis. Jaywalking, walking your dog without a leash, smoking in a non-smoking zone, or cheating in online video games. What if you have a social credit score that's low? What happens now? You're probably wondering. First, you'll be publicly shamed. See, regulators, the ones that are in charge of implementing and using this system, they encourage naming and shaming on a serious level of individuals who are blacklisted or of who have low social scores. They want you to be named, shamed, and bullied and reputationally driven into the ground, so you'll get even further down on that blacklist, right? And it's pretty much impossible for you to build any relationships with anyone after that, because even just associating with you would lower their scores as well. You decide to still shop from a store that has a low social credit score. This will reduce your social credit score. Also, if you have a poor social credit score and you try to open a business, well, your business now will automatically begin with a very low score as well, so it's fucked too. You'll be banned from traveling. Reports in 2019 indicated that 23 million people had been blacklisted from traveling by plane or train due to low social credit score ratings. You can also be banned from school. Your social credit score may prevent students from attending certain universities or schools, like kids, if their parents have a low social credit rating. Their parents. So if your dad has a low social credit score rating, you will be denied entry into certain schools, into better schools or better universities, not having anything to do with your own merit. There was a student who was denied entry to university even though he was perfectly qualified and has worked his ass off because his father was on a blacklist. You also have very much reduced employment prospects. So employers will be able to consult blacklists when making their employment decisions. Also, there are a lot of jobs which you are completely restricted from even being considered for on a discretionary basis, like government jobs. You just automatically cannot get any jobs like that. So you're effectively just, it's over. And like we saw with that court case that I mentioned, somebody who has it out for you can ruin your life. And different things, like different opportunities and all the ways you can game this system, is just all horrifying. But that's where I'm going to stop for part 1. Part 2 is going to be a lot heavier, a lot worse. We're going to some of the weirdest inventions you've ever seen, some of the bigger topics. It's just going to get real crazy in part 2, so definitely stick around. If you're interested in looking at my Patreon or joining my Patreon, I have 2 tiers. I have the tier that includes the exclusive deep dives and then some other more casual content, as well as a second tier that also includes a custom artwork, which I will draw a picture of whatever you want. So if you're interested in that, go look and check that out. And stay tuned for part 2 and subscribe so you don't miss it. Notifications are great. We all forget things, and I don't expect you to remember me, so, give it a shot, right? Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a phenomenal day. Let me know what you think, and I will see you next time. Be safe out there.